Shalom, shalom, shalom. Brother Jose coming at you again with another video. Giving all glory and honor to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah. Yahweh, who the world uses the title God, and Yahweh Shah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ. Through the spirit and power, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah, doing another video. Don't count this as a light thing to do. All glory and honor to the Most High, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah. Peace and blessings to each and every one striving and enduring in these last days through the spirit and power, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah, to the best of your ability. Peace and blessings to those that's going on the highways and byways, teaching and waking up the elect, the house of Israel, the 12 tribes scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth. Peace and blessings continue to abound more and more. Do all you can in these last days with the grace and mercy that is bestowed upon us to the best through the spirit and power, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah. Peace and blessings. And to those that are not on the highways and byways, peace and blessings to you, to the men that's striving and enduring and building themselves up, building their households up, their wives and their children, if that is their responsibility. Peace and blessings to you. Continue to read, pray, and fast, and make your call and election sure. And peace and blessings to the wives of the husbands in this truth, enduring to the best of their ability. Peace and blessings to you and to those that are not married, and to the children. Continue to reverence and honor your mother and your father to the best of your ability and righteousness. And to those that are not married, continue to make your body a living sacrifice, and your calling and election is sure, and righteousness to the best of your ability as well. You know, mainly doing a video through the spirit of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah. Depending on how the spirit is, you know, may go for 30 minutes, an hour or more through the spirit of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah. Mainly talking about not going overboard. You know, you don't want to go overboard in this walk of faith, in this truth, with drinking and multiple wives and things that we may seem and believe and know to be lawful to be able to do. You know, it's not a sin to drink strong drink, wine, you know, liquor and things like that. And it's not a sin to have multiple wives, but you want to be able to walk this walk of faith until Hamashiach Yahweh Shah comes to the best of your ability, while not putting so much stress and stumbling blocks on you, and not hindering yourself, and not doing things, you know, that can, you know, cause you to move to the left and move out of place, you know. So through the spirit of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah, we're gonna bring out some precepts. So let's go to Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7. It's the book of Romans chapter 7, and I'm going to start at the top. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law. So this is Apostle Paul in his epistle, going into, you know, breaking things down, how we as Israelites know things to be lawful, you know. So he's saying, don't you know? You know, I'm speaking to them that know the law. Romans 7:1. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law had dominion over a man as long as he liveth. You know, so as long as you're on the face of the earth, you being an Israelite, the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we have to understand that the laws, statutes, and commandments, you know, was given to us, of course, through the Most High, through man, you know, Moses and Aaron, and, you know, prophets and apostles and evangelists, men that was able to prophesy, vision, and dreams, and went through certain things to give us the word and break it down plain as day, plain upon tables. You know, we have to understand that with having this, you know, which was given to the Israelites, you know, God's chosen children, special and peculiar people, that we have to keep ourselves within the reality of keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and being obedient, and not doing things in excess or overindulging or going overboard, you know. So I'm gonna jump down to verse 7. Romans chapter 7 and verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law, for I had not known lust except the law had said, thou shalt not covet, you know. So, hey, we keeping the law, statutes, commandments, you know, and that's why it's important for us to read and to increase our understanding and our knowledge and wisdom about the law, so we can understand things on how we supposed to maneuver. You know, when our brothers and sisters have problems, or if they have problems in their marriage, you know, it's not expedient, and you shouldn't go to Esau, because, you know, the Most High set it up for us to have judges and to have elders and to have leaders that we can go to and have things being judged in a proper way without bringing your enemies in, man. You know, so I'm gonna go to 1 Corinthians right quick and expound on that a little bit more. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and I'm gonna start at verse 23. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. You know, so meaning, things that are lawful, you know, and it's lawful, you know, it's not a sin to have multiple wives, and it's not a sin to drink, man. You know, in Christianity, you know, these religions ran by men, wicked men, you know, and orchestrated in the land of the living. You know, they'll put a stumbling block out there, and, you know, Christianity have you saying, oh, it's a sin to drink, and it's a sin to, you know, talk to another woman, you know, things like that. You know, mainly if that woman is already married, meaning she has a husband or a promise to, you know, be married or engaged in things like that. Yeah, it would be off, and it would be a sin to deal with that woman. But if that woman isn't promised to another man, then, you know, that man can talk to her and deal with her, court her, and then get to know her, and things in order and righteousness, and then he can deal with that woman, you know. And if that man is drinking, you know, and we're gonna get into the precepts through the Spirit and the power of Yahweh Shem Shah, Lord willing. And then if that man is drinking, you know, strong drink, you know, and if he's doing it in moderation, it's okay, you know, let that man, you know, because this place is backwards, man. This place is so backwards, out of course. You know, nothing is in righteousness, and that's why the Most High said in Hosea 4:1 that he has a controversy with this place, because there's no truth, you know, nor knowledge here, man. You know, so things have to be done in a way that you're not gonna put too much on yourself, but you got to do it in righteousness and moderation. So I'm gonna read this again. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. I'm gonna start at verse 23 again. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. So, you know, you should understand that just because it's lawful for you, that doesn't mean it's edifying for your life, for your walk. You know, because everybody doesn't have the necessary requirements to be able to drink. You know, everybody doesn't have the necessary requirements to be able to have multiple wives. You know, going into the law, you have to understand that, if you a Levite, you know, we're gonna get into the precepts. There's certain things that you can't do if you drink. You know, if you're doing a Nazarite vow, there's certain things you can't do with vinegar and wine, you know. And if you a man that doesn't like to labor and work, having another wife isn't gonna fit you, you know. But you know, let's not talk about it, let's be about it. Let's get into the precepts. But before that, I'm gonna get this precept right quick. I'm gonna go back to Romans. This is Romans chapter 8, and I'm gonna start at verse 6. I'm gonna start at verse 5. I'm gonna start at verse 4. You know, this whole chapter is mighty. Romans chapter 8 and verse 4. That the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So it should be a purpose on why you're doing everything you're doing. You know, you don't want to just drink just to try to escape from the world. We understand that, we go through a lot of hard labor, and, this captivity is real, man. It's we're not even going to beat around the bush. We're not going to try to be over righteous and so high and mighty, to make it seem like we don't go through anything. We understand that this captivity is real and it's hell. These trials and tribulations, all of these things and afflictions that we have to go through, and that we have to endure through, we understand that, sometimes you gotta, kind of drink and, sit back and chill out and relax and, just enjoy, certain things on a righteous scale. And sometimes, hey, you might have things set up in your household where you may need, or it may be, well, if you can manage certain things to have, for your wife to have a sister wife, or, you have a little more help in the household, on how things was moving and done in ancient days, but it's a spirit that comes with that, man. You have to understand, and you have to have a purpose for that. You don't want to just do things just because you see somebody else doing it, or because you can do it because you have a say so, or you feel like you the man, or you feel like you can call the shots. You have to really count the cost and see what comes along with that, and what's going to be done, and what's the responsibilities behind that. But nevertheless, let me get this precept right quick. This is Philippians. I'm gonna go to Philippians chapter 4, because we have to do things in moderation. So before we get into the before we get into the drinking, before we get into the multiple wives, let's get a full, clear understanding on how we supposed to do things. This is Philippians chapter 4, and I'm gonna start at Salaki. Before I get there, I kind of skipped over a precept that I wanted to get, and I want to go back in Romans. Before I go back to Philippians, let me get this in Romans. This is Romans chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at Romans chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at the top. Romans chapter 14. Him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not to be doubtful disputations. For one believeth that he may eat all things, and another who is weak eateth herbs. Let not him that eateth despise him that eateth not, and let not him which eateth not judge him that eateth, for God has received him. Like if somebody wanted to go to McDonald's, regardless of what another person may have on what goes on at McDonald's, hey, you can't really just say, hey, man, you don't even going over there, and, that food nasty, that food this and that food, hey, you can't be doing that, Hey, if that man want to eat McDonald's, hey, he should understand that, hey, I'm not eating bacon, I know I can't eat pork, swine, abominable foods, shrimp, crab, lobster. Hey, I'm not eating that. So, why you coming at me with trying to go to McDonald's, So, hey, you really can't just get on somebody just because what you feel like, if they're not going against the law, statutes, and commandments, and if they're not, turning it away from the law and the truth, hey, hey, just, kind of be chill with them. Verse 4, Romans chapter 14 and verse 4. Who art thou that judgest another man's servant? To his own master he standeth or falleth. Yea, he shall be holding up, for God is able to make him stand. And I'm going to jump down to verse, I'm going to just read on. One man esteemeth one day above another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. So, hey, if a brother feel like, having another wife is off, hey, maybe he sees something spiritually that, even though it's in the scriptures, even though it's in the so-called Old Testament and the so-called New Testament, if he see it one way, hey, don't put that brother in the chokehold. Hey, his spirit may be set up to see things how he see it. He's fully persuaded in his own mind. And if a brother feel like, hey, hey, drinking ain't, hey, that ain't me, I don't do that, hey, that don't mean the brother don't get down with the precepts, hey, his spirit just set up to be how it is, And I'm going to jump down to verse 7, Romans chapter 14 and verse 7. For none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself. For whether we live unto the Lord, and whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Lord's. For to this end Hamashiach both died and rose and revived, that he might be Lord both of the dead and the living. Verse 10. But why doest thou judge their brother, Salakia? Or why doest thou set at not thy brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Hamashiach Yahweh Shah. You know, so everybody is going to be able to stand. Whatever the Most High has put on your spirit, you know, my spirit may not be able to accept having another wife. Hey, but nevertheless, it's in the scriptures, it's in the precepts. So hey, I'm not debunking it. You know, I'm not saying it's, you know, it's a sin, you know, because clearly as day I see it is lawful. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, you can't drink wine. You know, clearly as day is lawful. So, hey, whatever spirit that brother has on him, as long as he understand that the Most High has certain things set up, you know, for things to be a certain way, and he's not brushing it off, saying it's a false doctrine or something like that. Hey, you know, hey, don't condemn your brother. You know, don't kind of put him in the chokehold. So, you know, I kind of wanted to get that. So, let's go to Philippians right quick. This is Philippians chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 4. Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. So in everything you do, you're supposed to rejoice in the Most High. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. You know, and rejoicing, you know, that goes along with the fruits of the Spirit. So regardless of what things may go on, you know, you got to rejoice. And, you know, you accepting that, okay, you're drinking, you rejoicing, you know, you give thanks to the Most High for that drink, for that wine, for that alcohol, or strong drink, whatever it is that you, you know, you indulging in, and you having a wife. You know, you got to rejoice and be joyful for what the Most High has blessed you with, you know, and things in righteousness, you know, because some people, you know, they don't want to rejoice in things that they have and the Most High has blessed them with, but you want to rejoice. And with that rejoicing, you're going to have that in the spirit and the mindset of you're going to do things in righteousness. So Philippians chapter 4 and verse 5. Let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. And so this word moderation goes into avoiding of extremes. You know, you're not overdoing things. You're not going overboard. So you're going to be moderate, you know, so you're going to keep things. So it's almost like, let's say if you had 10 bottles of Hennessy, you know, hey, you should, hey, okay, you should know yourself. For one, you know, you should know that, hey, it's bad things gonna come with if you try to drink all that liquor, man. You know, so let me get this quick precept right quick in 2 Corinthians. This is 2 Corinthians. You know, hey, moderation is, you know, knowing you can have multiple wives, but hey, this ain't for me. I can't provide for these women. I can't, you know, I can't give all these women my time, because my spirit and my love for the Lord is set up for me to do things in righteousness. You know, if I go that route, then I won't be able to give so much more time to the Lord, to the camp, or this and that, because I'm dealing with all these women. You know, even though I can lawfully deal with these women, but hey, you got to understand what comes along with that. You got to understand that you got to teach these women. These women are going to be unclean, so you can't go around other people when these women are unclean, and you might have children, and that's the whole purpose of being married. Laying down with a woman is to procreate. So, hey, you have to understand, you have to try to do things in a way that you got to understand you're doing it for a purpose, and not just to get your rocks off. You know, you should understand that if you drink all that liquor, you ain't going to be in your right mind. You ain't going to be in the right spirit, man. So let me get this right quick. So this is Second Corinthians chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. Examine yourselves. So you should examine yourselves. You know, you sitting up here watching pornography, masturbating every 6-7 hours, you know. Hey, brother, come on, you got to get your spirit right before you try to deal with a woman, man. How you look trying to call yourself an Israelite, trying to call yourself a man of God, but you can't even control yourself, man. You got to examine yourself, see what it is that you really believe in, and you take it heed to, you have faith with. You know, here you are, your breath smelling like alcohol, you know, on the Sabbath, you know, and you going to camp teaching, man. Brothers gonna think you, even if you wasn't, brothers gonna think you know, you got a little flask in your pocket, man. Kind of just turning your head to the side, you just turning the thing up, man. You know, little flask, a little metal looking joint, man. I ain't never had one, but hey, I seen them in the movies, man. You know, you kind of turning your head to the side, trying to put it under your shirt, you know, just trying to get you a little swig, man. That is off, man. That is madness. You know, you got to examine yourself, man. You know, you don't need to be in the ABC store, man, if you can't control yourself, man. You don't need to be trying to deal with another woman if you can't control yourself, man. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. So are you in the faith? You can't even go 10 days without watching pornography or masturbating. You don't got faith, man. You don't got faith the Most High can take them demons away from you, man. You know, you can't go a whole month without, you know, having to talk to somebody. Or you can't even go, you know, a whole 2 days or a day without having to talk to somebody, man. What you gonna do in Jacob's trouble, man? You can't be alone. You feel like you gotta always have somebody beside you. Oh, I gotta get me a shorty, man. Oh man, you know, I gotta get me a little something, man. You know, it's cuffing season. You know, y'all got that cuffing season spirit, man. You know, all of this folly and maddening and this idolizing, man. Just going with the wind. Whatever the world do, that's what y'all want to get down with, man. You know, hey, man, look, you need to be alone, man. Get your spirit right, man. You know, 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. Examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves. So a lot of people they can't prove themselves, man. And they don't know themselves. You know, what you gonna do when you and this woman got problems, man? You got all these spirits going to and fro in your house. You don't know yourself, man. Something come along, you're gonna be ready to hit this woman. You know, a full-blown demon, you know, because you don't know that you have an anger demon. You don't know that you can't control your anger. You barely can control, you know, how you deal with desires. So what you think gonna happen when you dealing with a woman or another woman or 3 women? You know, you should know yourself, man. You know ye not yourselves how that Hamashiach Yahushua, who the world called Jesus. You know, we kind of got to break it down because you never know who's new watching. You know, Jesus, his name is Yahushua, and Christ is Hamashiach. You know, Jesus being in the Hebrew, Yahushua, meaning he shall save, he would deliver. Or Christ, Hamashiach, meaning anointed one. How that Yahushua Hamashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. You know, so a lot of people, man, they want to be in this truth because they found out something, or they found out they can have a husband that they have to provide for them. Because when a woman get married, you know, the husband has to provide, and when the man, you know, he's in control, you know, he can call the shots, and you know, you can drain, you can go to feast days, you can get your garments. Hey, you don't want to be doing things just because you can. You know, you should have a purpose while you're doing everything, man. So let's go to Genesis. Let's get into the drinking, you know. So this is Genesis chapter 9. So Genesis chapter 9. And I'm going to start at a verse. Genesis chapter 9. It's like Genesis chapter 9. I'm going to start at verse 18. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 18. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. Meaning after the flood, after the water receded and Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. Verse 20, and Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. So he had a vineyard. So where does wine come from? It comes from a vineyard, man. You got grapes, and you have things in a way of how they did in the ancient days. You go to a winery now, you don't really see the vineyards. You just see it on the shelves. You just see it's in the store. But it's a process of making wine, and how wine is supposed to be made. It has to go through a process. So, hey, our forefathers, man, they got into planting, certain things and having a vineyard and doing things before it even came to how it is now. So Noah, he drunk, he went overboard, man. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 21, and he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. Salaki. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and he told his 2 brethren without. Salaki, and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his youngest son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be without his brethren. So, hey, on the righteous scale, you don't want to look at your father, man. That's in the law. You can't uncover your father, man. You can't sleep with his woman. If your father got a wife, you can't sleep with his wife. You can't uncover his wife nakedness, and you can't uncover your father, man. You kind of got to look away. If your dad was kind of, laid over on the chair, kind of done turned up, a little too much, man. You kind of got to, cover that up, man. You don't want to, hey, that's sin, man. That's off. That's going against the laws and the statutes and commands, So you don't want to be out here looking at your father, like these Canaans, man, like these Africans, like these Hamites, the one that put lip disc in their lips and bones in their nose, man. That's wicked, man. That's nasty, man. Them Africans, man, they do some nasty stuff, man. So you don't want to have that spirit. You don't want to be like that, man. So you got to kind of cover that up, man. So let's go to Sirach right quick in the Apocrypha. And if you don't mind, kind of jammed up. But if you don't got an Apocrypha, you want to get your Apocrypha, man. You got the 14 missing books in it, which means hidden, So Sirach chapter 31, and I'm gonna start at verse 27. Sirach chapter 31, verse 27. And it reads, wine is as good as life to a man, if it be drunk moderately. What life is then to a man that is without wine, for it was made to make men glad. So wine was made to make men glad. Wine was set up to, to enjoy. The Most High has given us certain things. Like you go back to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis right quick. Let's go back to Genesis. This is Genesis chapter. Let me see where I want to start at. So like this is Genesis chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at verse 29. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for a meat. So hey, the Most High has given us certain things for us to enjoy, man, not to freak off with, not to destroy ourselves with, not to mess up our liver, and then you got yellow eyes, man. You can't even see the white in your eyes no more, man, because you done drunk yourself to death, man. You drinking your life away, man. You You don't know what you're saying. You don't know where you at. You need an Uber. You can't drive. You kind of gotta, you got your license taken away from you. You can't, you gotta have somebody driving you around. Here you are, 35 years old, and you gotta have somebody driving you around because you done got a DUI, man. You done got your license revoked, man. They had to take your license away from you and your driving privileges. Now you're a damn priest, a carpooler, man, because you don't know how to hold yourself and control yourself, man. You got to get picked up by your grandma or your auntie or your cousin, or your wife, which should be ashamed to be a grown-ass man, a husband, and you can't even take yourself to work, man. I can understand if you done did 12 hours and you kind of get sleepy and you can't drive because you're sleepy and you fall asleep behind the wheel. But man, hey, listen, man, y'all grown men gotta control yourself, man. Stop going overboard, man. Every time you talk to somebody, it smell like Hennessy, smell like Ciroc, smell like damn, Bud Light, man, stinking yeast, man. Control yourself, man. Ask the Most High to give you the spirit to fight that overindulgent spirit, man. So let's read this again. Sirach chapter 31 and verse 27. Wine is as good as life to a man, if it be drunk moderately. What life is then to a man that is without wine? For it was made to make men glad. Wine measurably drunk and in season bringeth gladness of the heart and cheerfulness of the mind. So what? Hey, you kind of only do it for certain occasions, or you're doing it, here and there. You're not, it can be something that you really can, enjoy, but reading on. Verse 29. Sirach chapter 31, verse 29. But wine drunken with excess make it bitterness of the mind, with brawling and quarreling. So you kind of hitting on your wife. You kind of beating your children up, abusing your children. Now you done turned into a full-blown demon. Now you a wicked ass man. Which I can't stand to hear brothers hitting on their wives, man. That's off, man. That's satanic, man. That's evil. And and it gets worse when you drink, man. Now it done went from you had an anger problem. Now you got a drinking problem, and you mix both of them together. That's off, man. That's just one of the most wicked, satanic combinations you could put together. You can't control your anger, and you can't control the bottle. That's just off, man. Now you bitter. Now your wife scared of you. Now your children scared of you. And every day that they gotta figure out how to get away from you, man. And it's sad, man. It's sad, man. So let's go down to verse 30. This is Sirach chapter 31, verse 30. Drunkenness increaseth the rage of a fool till he offend, diminisheth strength and maketh wounds. Used to be a brother that was a mighty reader, but now, hey man, you kind of mess up your eye. You can't even see straight, because you drinking too much, it can do that, man. It can mess up your kidneys, mess up your liver. You just look bad and you're starting to age more. Brothers used to say, man, hey man, how old are you, man? Oh man, you can't be 20, 25. Man, I thought you was 18. Hey, that liquor, man, that beer that put weight on you, all that yeast. Hey man, come on now. So I'm gonna rest right there. I'm gonna go to Sirach 19 right quick. This is Sirach chapter 19, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. This is Sirach chapter 19 and verse 1. A laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich, and he that contemneth small things shall fall little by little. So, hey, you're laboring, and you're doing everything you can. You got your hands to the plow, But hey, you know, you kind of try to escape by that liquor, man, by that wine. You know, you gonna become poor, you know, spiritually and physically. Your understanding, you know, especially when because wine is also described as doctrines too. You know, if you give yourself over to false doctrines, you know, you're gonna lose wisdom and understanding and knowledge, man. And hey, the Most High just gonna use you as a stumbling block, man, to those who, you know, really you're gonna be a stumbling block to those who understand the truth and what the truth is about, you know, not giving heed to false doctrines. And also on a physical scale, you know, you're giving your strength to this wine and this strong drink, you know. Hey man, you ain't gonna move the same, man. Your body gonna deteriorate. You're gonna be slow-footed, you know, feeble-needed, you know. So hey, that's, you know, you gotta kind of be more moderate, man. Verse 2, Sirach chapter 19 and verse 2. Wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away, and he that cleaveth to harlots will become impudent. You know, so hey, a lot of men have failed by wine, man. You know, physically and spiritually. You know, a lot of men fall into false doctrines and ideologies. You know, taking heed to, you know, things that they really can't see in the scriptures, and it's not lining up right. Hey, the Most High had you seeing things like that. You know, you kind of stretch your precepts. You know, and also, hey, when you dealing with these wicked women, man, hey, that causes men to fall away as well. You know, so let me go to Sirach 26 right quick. Still dealing with wine. This is Sirach chapter 26, and I'm gonna start at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 7. Sirach chapter 26 and verse 7. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. And Lord willing, you know, brothers and sisters that watch this, they're not evil, man. You know, you don't have an evil wife, and Lord willing, you're not an evil woman, you know. An evil wife is a yoke and shake, but we understand it's out here, man. You know, an evil, Sirach chapter 26 and verse 7. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. You know, so you try holding a scorpion, see what it does to you, man. You know, your hand's not gonna be looking good, man. And if you still got your hand, you know. Verse 8, Sirach 26 and 8. A drunken woman and a gabbler abroad cause it great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. You know, so hey, women, man, they be getting drunk too. You know, you know, that's not a pretty sight when you dealing with a woman that's, you know, always drunk, always drinking, always turning up, got the bottle in her hand. That's not a good sight, man. You know, you gotta repent, man. You gotta repent from that. You know, so let me get this quick precept right quick in Titus. It's the book of Titus, and we're gonna get into what a woman supposed to do. What does the word say a woman's supposed to do? You know, this is Sirach chapter. This is Titus chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 3. I'm gonna start at verse 2. So Titus chapter 2 and verse 2, that the aged man be sober. So, hey, you supposed to, be sober in this thing, man. Meaning have some self-control, man. You know. Titus chapter 2, verse 2, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. You know, and patience goes into how you dealing with your spirit as well, man. You know, you kind of got the urge, but you gotta be patient, man. You gotta be patient. You know, you gotta have some type of long suffering in this thing. Verse 3, Titus chapter 2, verse 3, dealing with the women. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine. You know, so you gotta learn how to control your bottle, man. Your wine glass, man. You're indulging. You gotta learn how to control that. You know, if you say you're a Proverbs 31 woman, or you're a woman of Zion, a daughter of Zion, it's a way that you have to carry yourself in drinking. You know. So let's go to St. John right quick. Let's go to St. John. So like, I want to go back to Sirach. I kind of skipped over a precept, I think. Let me check this out right quick. Kind of had some precepts lined up. So like, let's go to St. John chapter 2. This is St. John chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 9. St. John chapter 2, starting at verse 9. And it reads, when Salaki. This is St. John chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 6. St. John chapter 2, verse 6. And there are 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Verse 7. Yahushua said unto them, and this is dealing with a feast they was dealing with. They was at St. John chapter 2, verse 7. Yahushua said unto them, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he said unto them, draw out now, and bear it unto the governor of the feast. And they bare it. Verse 9. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom, and said unto him, every man at the beginning doeth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse, but thou hast kept the good wine unto now. This beginning of miracles did Yahushua in Canaan of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. So, the Lord and Savior, Christ, the Messiah, he turned water into wine, So if you believe or take heed and listen to any type of, folly and manners that you can't drink, then, you will have to explain why did the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the ending, you will have to explain why he turned water into wine, And this is in what you would call the New Testament. So, it's not a sin to deal with wine, but you have to deal with it in righteousness. You have to deal with strong drink in righteousness. Now let's go to let me see what I'm on. Let's go to Leviticus right quick. So we're gonna go back into the law. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 10. With that being said, Leviticus chapter 10, and I'm gonna start at verse 8. Leviticus chapter 10 and verse 8. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Aaron, and Aaron is the high priest, spake unto Aaron, saying, do not drink wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee, when ye go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. Now this is going into the congregation. Everybody wasn't able, so like I want to say, everybody wasn't set up to go into the congregation. Everybody wasn't supposed to go in there. It was supposed to be the high priest, and if it was according to Leviticus 16 and 16, on how the atonement was being set for the children of Israel, the nation, for the Day of Atonement, it was Aaron, and and if it wasn't for that, it was Aaron and his sons. But everybody wasn't supposed to be going into them, doing sacrifices and doing vows and things like that. So that was set up for the high priest at that time. So I'm gonna go to Ezekiel right quick. This is Ezekiel chapter 44. Ezekiel chapter 44, and I'm gonna start at verse this is Ezekiel chapter 44, and I'm gonna start at verse 16. I'm gonna start at, hold on, I'm gonna go up a little bit more. I'm gonna start at verse 13, and then I'm gonna jump down. But you can read this on your own. This whole chapter is mighty. Ezekiel chapter 44, and I'm going to start at verse 13. And they shall not come near unto me to do the office of a priest unto me, nor to come near to any of my holy things in the most holy place. So everybody and anybody couldn't go into the most holy place. It was who the Most High set up. But they shall bear their shame and their abominations, which they have committed. But I will make them keepers of the charge of the house for all the service thereof, and for all that shall be done therein. But the priests and the Levites, the sons of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary, when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, said the Lord God. They shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table to minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. So, hey, it was only a select amount of few that can go into the sanctuary. You know, so this goes on to how, how the priest was supposed to do things according to what the Most High has charged him to do. You know, verse 21, Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 21. Neither shall any priest drink wine when they enter into the inner court. You know, so a priest, he couldn't drink when he was about to go in and do sacrifices and vows and do things for the Most High. You know, and also verse 22, Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 22, neither shall they take for their wives a widow, nor her that is put away, but they shall take maidens of the seed of the house of Israel, or a widow that had a priest before. So even a priest, he couldn't deal with a woman that had had a man that died, you know. But the only time he could deal with a woman that had a man that had a husband that died, if he was a former priest, if he was a priest, if a priest died, a priest can deal with another woman that had a former priest, you know. So, but he couldn't just deal with any woman, you know, even the Most High. And we're going to get into that once we get into the multiple wives. Even Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, you know, he is like a priest, and we're going to deal with that later, you know. So let me go to Numbers chapter 6. This is the book of Numbers chapter 6. About to go into the Nazarite vow. I'm going to start at the top. Numbers chapter 6. And everybody, Nazarite vows aren't for everybody. You know, it's not something, any Israelite can do it, but it's not something that, you know, you just do just to say, well, you know, I'm going to just do a Nazarite vow. It's got to be a reason why you're doing it. And, you know, you gotta be serious and carry it on. And you got to, you know, understand what's required and how you're supposed to properly do it before you try to just say you want to do something. The book of Numbers chapter 6, starting at the top. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord. This is what you're doing. He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. This is not saying nobody can't drink wine, nobody can't drink strong drink. This is only for the Nazarites, you know. And what we just previously read for the Levites. But you can't use that and say, well, I can't drink. You know, it's a sin to drink. You got to keep things in its proper context. You know, Numbers chapter 6 at verse 3. He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar or wine, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. You know, verse 4, all the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. You see that? So this is going into the Nazarite vow, man. So you have to keep things in its proper context, you know. So let me get, I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy right quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Still dealing with the wine. This is Deuteronomy chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at verse 22 to get the context. This is Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 22. Now this is touching on tithing, on what was done when we gave tithes. And I'm going to explain it. Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 22. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field, and your tithing, as you just read, that the field, the tithing is your corn, your wine, your cattle, and, you know, things like that. It's not what these Christian churches are doing, which they're doing wickedness, man. Lying and saying you don't have to keep the laws, but they still keeping the laws of the tithes, which they are using the money, but we're going to explain how it's supposed to be used. Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 22. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bring it forth year by year. Thou shalt eat before Yahweh thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, the tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thy oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear Yahweh thy God always. You know, so hey, when you doing your tithe, you're taking things on how it's supposed to be taken, and we're gonna read on verse 24. If the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, meaning you done got your 10%, according to what you read in according to what you read in what was the precept, Malachi 3 and 8 through verse 10, and Numbers the 18th chapter, and what you read in Nehemiah, you know, on how you supposed to deal with your tithes. Once you take the 10% of your tithes, your corn, your cattle, your oil, your wine, and things like that, and this place that the Most High has set it up, you know, it may have been in Jerusalem, and it, you know, you been in a different part, you know, hundreds and thousands of miles, and, you know, at the time they was walking, they didn't have, you know, Honda Accords, they didn't have Dodge Chargers, they didn't have Hellcats, they didn't have Mercedes Benz, so they had to travel, you know. So hey, we still dealing with the same thing we supposed to be doing, but we don't have the Levites, you know. So we doing things on how the Most High has set it up for it to be, you know, because the Levitical priesthood, you know, nobody has the records to that today. But stand on task. You took that, and if you wasn't able to travel there with all that because you had too much to just, you can't just, if you got like 17, you know, 17 beasts, and you got all of this corn and all this oil, it's gonna be hard for you to travel with that and take all that cross country, you know. So you sold all what you had, and you used that money, and you took that money and you traveled to where the place was set up that the Lord chose to do this feast, to have this, you know, this how it was set up. And once you had that money, you took that money and you bought whatever it was that you like once you got there. So we're going to read on and it's going to explain it. Deuteronomy 14 and 24. So like it. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord Yahweh thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God had blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money. This is the only time that money should be used for tithing. You sold what you had, you took the money, and you traveled to where you was set to go. And once you got there, you bought what you liked and what you wanted with the money. Deuteronomy 14 and 25. Then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thy hand, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thou soul lusted after. Meaning whatever you wanted, whatever you liked. Not meaning you was just trying to buy a stripper or buy a hooker. Nah, don't get carnal in this thing. Stay spiritually minded, you know. What your soul lusted after. So if you wanted some wine, you took that money and you bought you some wine. For whatsoever thy soul lusted after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desired, and thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thy household. You see that? So let's go to let me see. I think that's all I wanted with the wine. So let's go to let me see. Let's go to Revelation right quick. Because when you dealing with when you see wine in the scriptures, it's also dealing with the spiritual aspect of it too. So let's go to Revelation chapter 17. Revelation chapter 17, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. I'm gonna start at the top. Revelation chapter 17. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Verse 2, Revelation chapter 17 and verse 2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now this is talking about the spiritual wine, you know, talking about, you know, these other nations and these kings that ruling or in rulership. They, you know, they partaking in Babylon's folly and madness as well, spiritual fornication and things like that, you know. So let's go to Revelation chapter 18 and verse 3, talking about the spiritual wine, you know, not the physical wine, because we just dealt with the physical wine. Now we touching on the spiritual wine. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2. I'm gonna start at the top. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And this place will be destroyed, man. You know, this place will be destroyed. And it's prophesied in the Bible, thus said the Lord. Meaning America, you know, the land of the north, you know, where you have a majority of the Israelites as slaves, man. You know, have the last names of their oppressors, you know, have been sent over here to serve a punishment because we broke the law, statute, commandments. We fell short and didn't want to take heed to what was given to Moses, the law, statute, commandments that was given for us to keep, because we was the only ones given the law, statute, commandments. You can read about this in Deuteronomy when you go back to the first 5 books, you know. So we was set up to serve a punishment, you know. Verse 3, Revelation chapter 18 and verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see that? So, if you're partaking in all of this folly and madness, and, you know, you believing in false idols, you believe in white Jesus, you believe in Valentine's Day, you believe in Christmas, and you celebrate and you worship and you bow down to all of these things, you know, you have drunken the wine of Babylon the Great, man. You know, and, you know, the Most High gonna get up with you if you don't repent, you know. So, we touched on the wine, so we're gonna touch on the multiple wives, you know, through the Spirit. Not sure how much time I got left, you know, but we're gonna get into it. But before we get into that, I'm gonna read this right quick in Malachi. This is Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. You know, and a lot of people are gonna say we're not living in those times anymore. You know, we're not dealing with how we used to deal with certain things. Things change, times change. But check this out. This is Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. You know, so the Most High spoke by prophets, and he told you that he doesn't change. He's not going to change. The same way he was in the beginning of creation, that's the same way he is now. You know, he hasn't changed anything. You know, even though times change, he hasn't changed. So let's get this right quick. This is 1 Peter. It might be 2 Peter what I'm looking for. This is 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse. I'm gonna start at verse 8. This is 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing. So don't be ignorant. You thinking that you lean into your own understanding, as it says in Proverbs the 3rd chapter, the 5th verse on down, lean not to your own understanding. You thinking that, you know, the Lord has changed and the Lord is this and the Lord is that. Hey, you ignorant, but you don't want to be ignorant, as Apostle Peter is saying. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. You know, so you being, you know, it's been 2,000 years since Christ, Hamashiach, over 2,000 years since he's walked the earth. That's 2 days to the Lord. Think about that. Really, it's literally, it just told you 1,000 years to us is like 1 day to the Most High. So people saying, oh, that was 2,000 some years ago. But that's only 2 days to the Lord, to the Most High. So stop leaning into your own understanding, you know. So let's go to dealing with this multiple wives. You know, let's go to let me see where I want to start at. I'm gonna start at verse I'm gonna start at Deuteronomy chapter 21. Deuteronomy chapter 21. You know, this is Deuteronomy chapter 21. And as we read, you know, I'm going to read it again. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians before we deal with these multiple wives. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse, read it again just in case. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 23. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. So just because you can have multiple wives, you have to count the cost and see if this is convenient for you. Even though it's not a sin, is it really going to balance and have things set up to where you can fulfill the purpose of the Most High, you know, and fulfill your purpose in righteousness? So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 21, starting at verse 15. If a man have 2 wives. Now, straight off the bat, this verse just said, if a man have 2 wives, you know. So right there, you should already believe. If you believe in the Lord, you should believe in his word, because things that is in here is not, you can't just take this verse out of the Bible. You know, this is how the Bible, this is how the word of the Most High is set up, which, you know, you believing in the Lord, you say you love the Lord, you believe in the Lord, you trust in the Lord. You can't take this out here. This is what stands. Deuteronomy 20, 21 and 15. If a man have 2 wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, because this what your purpose should be, to have a wife, to procreate, not just to have sex, not just to lust after her, look at her because she's looking good to you, she pretty, and whatever you thinking in your own carnal mind. It's the purpose to procreate. and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated. And if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he maketh his son to inherit that which he had, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. So you can't abandon this child, you know. Verse 17, Deuteronomy 21:17. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. And the Most High deals with the firstborn. You know, even when you go back and read about the plagues of Egypt, the Most High killed, you know, the Egyptians' firstborn. You know, Yahushua is Yahweh's firstborn, you know. And the Bible deals with the firstborn, man. You know, so, hey, this thing was set up how the Most High had it set, how he had it set up, you know. And even in the kingdom of heaven, you're going to have men that's going to have multiple wives. But nevertheless, let's get some more precepts. So let's go to Isaiah right quick. This is Isaiah chapter 4. Isaiah chapter 4 and starting at verse 1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Verse 2. In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are separate, so like that are escaped of Israel, you know. But before we get that next precept, hey, women in that day, you know, talking about, you know, a lot of, you know, things are going to be happening. You know, a lot of people are going to be dying at a rapid rate that we've never seen before. You know, a lot of people are going to witness and understand that an Israelite man is a man of the Lord. You know, so a lot of women are going to want to take hold of that man or cleave unto that man so they can try to make it out of, you know, wherever they at. You know, when all of this destruction and all of these, you know, wars and things are going on. So a lot of women, you know, and, you know, 7 women, that's not just saying 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, that can be 3, that could be 10, that could be 20. You know, the Lord deals with 7. You know, it's a number of completion. You know, it could be, you know, it don't literally have to be that literal number. It could be more than what it is, or it can just be, you know, a complete. It could be 3, it could be 10, it could be 7. But women are going to be taking hold of men that are seen to be righteous, you know, that have kept his law, statutes, commandments, so they can get delivered out of here. Because how the Most High set up, you know, when you read 1 Corinthians, and I don't want to get too much of it because I'm trying to, you know, stay on course and, you know, pushing for time. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, when you read 1 Corinthians chapter 11, the Most High has set it up to be the Father, Yahweh, Yahushua, Hamashiach, Christ, and then the husband, and then the woman follows after the husband. So once a man lays down with a woman, and we're gonna get into it, once a woman lays down with a man, she is now that man's husband. You know, especially if her former husband has died, you know, and she's a widow, she can deal with that man, you know. So let me get a couple of precepts right quick. This is Exodus on dealing with, you know, marriage. Exodus chapter 22, and I'm gonna start at verse 16. Exodus chapter 22, verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, meaning she's not promised to another man or engaged to another man, and if a man entice, Exodus 22 and 16, and if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, what does it mean, lie with her? It means, hey, go into that woman, you know, you never know if you have minors or little kids watching this, but hey, once a woman and a man come together and lie together, hey, their whole purpose is to try to, you know, bring a baby, you know. So if you understand what happens with a woman and a man try to bring a baby, you understand what I'm saying. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. You know, meaning, hey, you know, y'all are married now. Once he went into that woman, so hey, he has to take on the duties and the responsibilities of making that woman his wife. Meaning he has to take care of that woman. He has to provide for that woman. You know, he has to teach that woman. You know, the word, man. You know, so let's get another precept. Let's go to Genesis. This is Genesis chapter 24, I believe. Genesis chapter 24, and I'm going to start at verse... Genesis chapter 24, and I'm going to start at verse 67. Genesis chapter 24 and verse 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. You know, so hey, Isaac brought Rebecca into the tent. You know, so hey, this is a tent on how they used to go into their dwelling place, you know, where they laid down and where they slept and where they rested and where, you know, they dwelled at. You know, they didn't have 2-story houses back then, man. You know, so they was moving, going here, going there. They was pilgrims. They were strangers. Abraham, he was, you know, going to another land they didn't know about. So, hey, they was sojourning. They was going to and fro, you know. So they had tents. You can, when you get up and you go to another spot, you can pitch a tent. You can take your tent with you. You can go to another spot. So they had tents. Genesis chapter 24, 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah. So what does it mean he took Rebekah? You know, hey, it mean he laid down with her and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. You know, so hey, he made Rebekah his wife, man. You know, if you have ears to hear, you know, that's why when you go to Revelation chapter 13 and verse 9, it say, if you have ears to hear, you know, if you can spiritually understand what the word is saying, because a lot of people, they look at things literal and they don't, you know, understand things on a spiritual aspect. You know, that's why the word isn't, you know, being, supping with everybody, if you can understand what I'm saying, because a lot of people can't see spiritual things on how the Most High had allowed to be seen. You know, everybody doesn't believe in the Most High. Everybody doesn't, you know, want to be righteous, you know. So, hey, the Most High can have you understanding things, you know, not really what it is. You know, let me get that in Wisdom of Solomon right quick. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1. And I'm going to start at verse 3. Wisdom of Solomon and the Apocrypha, chapter 1, verse 3. For forward thoughts separate from God and his power. When it is tried, reprove it the unwise. Verse 4. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 4. For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in the body that is subject unto sin. Now let's go to verse 8. Let's go to verse 5. You know, so in a wicked person's mind, membranes, and brain cells, hey, it's going to be hard for them to understand how the Lord gets down, man. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. For the Holy Spirit of discipline will flee deceit and remove from thoughts that are without understanding, and will not abide when unrighteousness cometh in. You know, so hey, the Holy Spirit will tell you to leave off these wicked things, man. You know, and the Holy Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua will sup with you and give you discernment, show you how the scriptures really are truthfully broken down and interpreted, and you understand it, and you have the knowledge. You know, so, you know, hey, you have to understand things on how the Most High set it up. So let's go to Genesis 38 right quick. You know, still dealing with sex. Genesis chapter 38, you know, dealing with the law. Genesis chapter 38, and I'm going to start at verse I'm going to start at verse 6. Genesis chapter 38, verse 6. And Judah took a wife. Now, this is the forefather. This is the patriarch, you know. Genesis chapter 38, verse 6. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. You know, so let me go to 1 Samuel right quick. The Lord put the man to death. And the Lord, he can do that. He controls how he do things. He has all power in his hands. He has his creation to, you know, do his wonders, you know, spirits and things like that in the third heavens. This is 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 6. The 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 6. The Lord killeth and maketh alive. He bring it down to the grave and bring it up. So, hey, that's how the Most High get down, man. So let's go back to Genesis 38. This is Genesis chapter 38 and verse 7. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan and Slakia, wife was Tamar. So Tamar's husband was meaning got put to death. So Tamar was a widow. So reading on Genesis chapter 38 verse 8. And Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her and raise up seed to thy brother. So when you go to the law, you know, when you go to the law, a man's supposed to he's supposed to, if his brother died and his brother didn't have any children, that brother got to go in unto his sister and raise up seed, man, you know, to his sister-in-law, man, so his name won't die off, you know. And this is according to the law, how things were set up, you know. Let me get this quick precept right quick. I got it. Remember, Salaki. Salaki. Get this quick precept right quick. If I can remember where it is. Let me see if I can find it right quick. Salaki, give me a second. Let me try to find this precept. I can't remember it. It escaped me. Let me see. This is Deuteronomy chapter 25, and I'm going to start at verse 5. Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 5. It's like, Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 5. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Meaning she can't marry Edomite or Moabite, Amalekite. Hey, she got to stay within the Israelite man, you know, because the laws, the statutes, commandments was given to the Israelites. You know, the precepts were for the Israelites. Let me get another precept on this. It's like jammed up. Let me get another precept on that. This is let me go to Ezra's. Let's go to Ezra's. This is second Esdras. Like, I'm gonna get two right quick. This is second Esdras chapter 15, and I'm gonna start at verse 24. Woe unto them that sin and keep not my commandments, said the Lord. You know, so hey, we was set up to keep the commandments and the laws and statutes of the Most High. So this is second Esdras chapter 3. So like second Esdras chapter 3 and verse 36. Thou shalt find that Israel by name had kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. You know, so hey, we was given the law, statute, commandments. You know, So let's go back to this right quick, touching on the law, on how you're supposed to deal, how your brother's supposed to deal with if you didn't raise up seed. You know, this is Deuteronomy chapter 25, and I'm going to start at verse 5 again. If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife, and to perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. But most people say, hey, you know, you can't deal with another wife, you know. But hey, we gonna keep the law, statute, commandments of the Most High, man. You know, all these bugged out, you know, philosophies and things that's going on in this. Hey, this place is westernized, man. You know, this place is set up. This place doesn't keep the laws, statutes, commandments, man. This place doesn't deal with the Lord, man. You know, that's why Israelites are strangers here. You know, Israelite men have multiple wives. You know, and if your brother got put to death, if he died, you know, and he didn't have any children, you got to keep that man's name going in the earth. So you got to take unto, you know, his woman, you know, which she's a widow, and you got to raise up seed, man. You know. Verse 6, Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 6. And it shall be that the firstborn which shall beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. You know. So, the men of the Lord, the Israelites, we going to continue to do what thus said the Lord. Not what thus said America, you know, or the so-called white man, you know, or, you know, you got your marriage certificate and, you know, they got a thing in the earth now called cheating, and, you know, your woman get, you know, alimony and you paying child support. No, you know, this place doesn't deal with the Lord, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, you know. So let's go back to Genesis chapter 38 and verse 8 after we just read that. So this is Genesis. Try to fix this camera, man. If it don't fall, it's like it. So this is Genesis chapter 38 and verse 8. And Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her. So he is saying go in unto her, meaning lay down with her. When you lay down with a woman, she becomes your wife, you know. And marry her and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground. Now, he was supposed to put this seed into this woman so he can bring forth a child. But he was doing what he wanted to do. He was being wicked, a Negro man. He was being a nigger man. So he pulled out and spilled the seed on the ground. You know, and no, you can't masturbate, you know, that is wicked. That is the same acts of this man, you know. You supposed to, if you burning in your lust, get you a woman, man, you know, in righteousness, you know, court that woman, meaning, you know, get to know that woman, you know, y'all get to know each other and y'all find out what y'all really believe in, and you know, y'all go back and forth in the precepts, bring the word out, and you know, you teach the woman, and you know, y'all rightly divide the word of truth, and you know, y'all be on one common ground, y'all walking together, agreeing on one thing, and then you know, after you know the course of courting, then you know, after y'all proved each other, you know, proved each other's spirits, and you know, after y'all did that, then you know, you go into, you know, how things are set up in righteousness and dealing with that woman. So let's read this again. Genesis 38 and 9. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. Verse 10. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. Displeased the Lord. So the Most High is for having another wife according to righteousness. This pleased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. So, the Most High put him to death, you know. So, let's go to, let's get a couple more through the Spirit. Let's go to 1 Samuel right quick. 1 Samuel chapter 1. 1 Samuel chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse 2. 1 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 2. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Phinaniah. And Phinaniah had children, but Hannah had no children. You know, so, this is Elkanah's family, man. You know, so surely these men were set up to do things on how the Lord wanted to do it, and not just how they wanted to do it by themselves. You know, you can read his own count, but, you know, this thing was set up. If it wasn't, if having multiple wives was a sin, then, Jacob, we wouldn't be here. You know, Jacob had many sons. So in order, within that came 12 tribes. You know, he dealt with those women. You know, his wife had a handmaid. He dealt with, how you think you got Manasseh? You know, how you think you got Joseph? You know, so multiple wives is something that you can do in righteousness. So let's go to 1 Samuel right quick. Let's stay in 1 Samuel. Let's go to chapter 30. 1 Samuel chapter 30, and I'm gonna start at verse 18, I believe. 1 Samuel chapter 18. 1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 18. And David recovered. Now this is after, you know, there was you know, the war that went on, and the wives was taken captive, and after David recovered, you know, all that was spoiled. 1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 18. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives, and there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil nor anything that had taken to them. David recovered all. So, even he recovered his 2 wives. Now, doesn't it say David had the mind of the Lord? Was David off for having 2 wives? You know, let me get this precept right quick. This is 1 Samuel chapter 16. Was David off? You know, was David a wicked man? Was David cheating on his other wife? This is 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse, I'm gonna start at verse, matter of fact, I'm gonna go to 1 Samuel chapter 13 first. 1 Samuel chapter 13, and I'm gonna start at verse 13. 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 13. Now this is when King Saul rulership was about to come to an end. 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 13. And Samuel said to Saul, Samuel being the prophet, Saul being the king, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. Because King Saul didn't want to wait on, Samuel, the prophet Samuel, you know, before he went in and was about to go to war. So King Saul was about to make moves without being, inquiring with Samuel first, which he wasn't supposed to do that. He was off, and he allowed, you know, moves to be done without doing things in order. You know, 1 Corinthians 14 and 40, do all things decently in order. That's how the Most High does. That's how the Most High move. That's how the prophets move. That's how the king's supposed to move. You know, you're supposed to do things decently in order. So Saul was doing things on his own. He didn't want to wait on the prophet. He didn't want to wait on the Lord. He wanted to do his own thing. He was proud, and he was prideful, man. And let me get this precept right quick. What does Proverbs say about that? The Most High hates that, man. The Most High hates a proud and prideful man. Proverbs chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse 16. Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 16. These 6 things doeth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift and run into mischief. You know, so hey, you can't be proud in this thing, man, or have a proudful spirit. So reading this again, 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 13. And Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. It's talking about King David, man. You know, so let's go to it. 1 Samuel chapter 16. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but we're going to pick up, you know, a couple of verses. And you can read it on your own, you know, through the Spirit and power of the Most High. 1 Samuel chapter 16. And I'm going to start at verse 2. So, like, I'm going to start at the top. 1 Samuel chapter 16. And the Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil and go. I will send thee to Jesse, which is King David's father, the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, take an heifer with thee, an animal to sacrifice, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord Yahweh, and call Jesse to the sacrifice. And I will shew thee what thou shalt do, and thou shalt anoint unto me him whom I name unto thee. So he was about to anoint King David to be the king, man. You know. So, hey, surely King David wasn't wicked for having 2 wives, you know. So let's go to Matthew 19 right quick. It's the book of Matthew chapter 19. And I'm going to start at verse 9. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 9. And this is out of the mouth. This is red letters. So we know who's speaking right here when we see red letters. This is Matthew chapter 19 and verse 9. Still touching on multiple wives. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife. Now he's telling you, you could put your wife away. Only except it be for fornication. So Christ, the Messiah, strictly laid down the law, the statute, and the command that the only way you could put away your wife is if she committed fornication, meaning if she slept with another man, or if she slept with a beast, or even if she slept with another woman, you know. Let me see if I can get that in the law right quick. Let me get this right quick. I'm trying to see where I want to get it. Let me see. Let me see. So lucky, give me a minute. Trying to see which one I want to get. You got some in Deuteronomy, you got some in Leviticus. This is Deuteronomy chapter 22, and I'm gonna start at verse 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22. I'm gonna use this one. This is a good one. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. So the Most High is big and strict on how we supposed to orchestrate and conduct our marriages. You know, you can't lay down with another woman that has another man. You know, that's off. The Lord said you should be put to death. You know. So let me get another one right quick. Let me get another one. Let me get another one right quick. I'm gonna just go to Leviticus. Let me go to Leviticus right quick. This is Leviticus chapter 20. And I'm going to start at verse 13. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lied with a woman, both of them committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. So a woman can't sleep with a woman, and a man can't sleep with a man. That's fornication. You know. So let me get another one. Let me see. Probably just go back to Deuteronomy. Trying to get these laws to understand the aspect of it. Give me a minute. Trying to find a good one. Should lock you. But yeah, we can't just lay down with another man's wife and it's gotta be let me see. I'm gonna just get this one as well. This is Deuteronomy chapter 23, and I'm gonna start at this is Deuteronomy chapter 24. I'm gonna start at the top. When a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she found no favor in his eyes, because he had found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house, or if the latter husband died, which took her to be his wife, her former husband which sent her away may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God given thee for an inheritance. You know, so it wasn't set up for a man. So like it wasn't set up for a man and a woman to just be putting each other off, you know, because that's too much, man. That's causing too much confusion, and the Most High didn't set things up like that. You know, the only way that man could put that woman away. Now, even though we used to do that in the ancient days, you know, it wasn't set up to be like that. You know, this is Genesis chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at let me see where I'm gonna start at. This is Genesis. Where is this precept at? Let me see if I can find this. So like, give me a second. This is Genesis chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at verse 16. I'm gonna start at verse 15. Genesis chapter 3, 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In the sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to the husband, and he shall rule over thee. So the husband was set up to have this woman, you know. And I'm gonna get another precept right quick. This is Genesis chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. Now this is spiritual. This is an actual literal. It wasn't a surgery being done for him cutting up his rib and opening up his side with a knife and opening it up, taking his rib out. This is meaning of his own people, of his own kinsfolk. Genesis chapter 2, verse 23. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed, meaning they was in sin, you know. So let's get Salaki, let me get another one on that naked. Let me see. Let me get this precept right quick. This is Revelation. Let me see. This is Revelation. I'm gonna start. Well, I'm gonna start at. Let me see. This is Revelation chapter 16 and verse 15. Behold, this is Christ speaking, the Messiah. Behold, Revelation chapter 16 and verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. You know, so I was just pulling the precept on that naked. You know, you don't want to be in sin when Christ comes back. You know, so let me get another precept on let me get another precept. This is 1 Corinthians. So yeah, man, you know, when you dealing with the let me go back to Matthew right quick. I don't want to skip over that. I want to finish that. This is Matthew chapter 19, and I'm gonna start back at verse 9. I didn't finish this off. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another. Now, if you put away your wife, so like, and she didn't commit fornication, then he's going to tell you you're in sin. Except it be for fornication, and shall marry another. Now, if you put away a woman that didn't commit fornication, didn't sleep with another man, didn't sleep with another beast, didn't sleep with another woman, and she marry another, and you marry another, both of y'all in sin. So let me read it on through, all the way through. Matthew chapter 19, verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committed adultery. And whoso married her, which is put away, doeth committed adultery. So everybody committed adultery, you know. So that's why it's important you not to put away a woman, and a woman not to deal with another man, you know, because hey, it's a lot of sins being brought out. And you know, like it says in Romans, you know, sins brings forth death, you know. So this woman supposed to stay with a man, you know, and you know, even though it's righteous and set up by the Most High for a man to have another woman, You know, that was set up. The woman was set up to do the will of the Most High, bring forth children and multiply the earth. You know, as it says in Genesis, you know, the first chapter, multiply the earth, be fruitful and multiply. You know, so let's get another one. This is Jeremiah, because the Most High, deals with us, you know, and we're liking it to women, a woman. This is Jeremiah chapter 6, and I'm gonna start at verse 2. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. You know, so even though he likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman, you know, let's go to Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter. Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 14. Turn, O backsliding children, said the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I will take you, one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. You see that? So, hey, the Most High, hey, he sets things up how he want it, man. You know? So, let me get, what I want right quick. Let me get Sirach right quick. Sirach chapter 24. This is Sirach chapter 24, and I'm going to start at verse... This is Sirach chapter 24, and I'm going to start at verse 10. In the holy tabernacle I served before him, and so was I established in Zion. Likewise, in the beloved city he gave me rest, and in Jerusalem was my power. And I took root in honorable people, even in the portion of the Lord's inheritance. So the Most High, he does things how he want to do things, man. You know, so let me get another precept. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 23. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 23. And ye are Christ's, and Christ is God's. So we belong to, even though we all belong to the Most High, we belong to, you know, the Messiah, Christ, you know, and we're married unto him. You know, he's our sacrificial lamb, you know, and we're married unto the Most High. You know, let me get that in Hosea. Because, hey, you got to understand, this thing is spiritual. You know, how the Most High does things spiritual, he does things on a physical scale too. You know, so you can't just look at a man having multiple wives as that's just it. Hey, we all unto the Most High. Let me get this quick precept in Hosea right quick. Let me see. This is. Let me see where I want to start at. This is Hosea chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at 14. Hosea chapter 2 and verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her. Who is her? Who is her? Talking about Israel. Hosea chapter 2 verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. So what is he talking about? He's going to bring her into the wilderness. So let's go to Ezekiel. So now we got to go into prophecies, man. Now, if you don't believe in the Most High, you don't believe in prophecies. If you don't get down with multiple wives, you don't get down with the Most High in his program, man. So let's go to Ezekiel and see what this wilderness he's talking about, man. Ezekiel chapter 20, and I'm going to start at verse 33. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 33. As I live, said the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you, and I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, because Israel is scattered all over the place, man. Let me get a quick precept on that. This is James chapter 1. This is James chapter 1 and verse 1. James, a servant of God, power, and of the Lord Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, And let me get another precept on the scatter, you know, because we got to go precept upon precept. This is, let me see if I can find this. This is 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 2 and verse 7. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 2 and verse 7. Let them be scattered abroad among the heathen. Let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant. And you know that's talking about the Israelites, man, because we didn't keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We didn't want to keep the covenant, man. That was set up for our forefathers, man, to have, you know. So, nevertheless, let's go back to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 34. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 34. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Lord God. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and will bring you into the bond of the covenant. That's going back to Hebrews chapter 8, verse 7 on down, man. You know, so this is a prophecy that's going to come to pass, man. Hosea chapter 2 again, verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her, and I will give her vineyards from thence in the valley of Acre for a door of hope, and she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt. Who came out of the land of Egypt? The Israelites, man, with Moses and everybody else, man. That even the strangers that was trying to cleave. And it shall be at that day, said the Lord Yahweh, that thou shalt call me Ishi, meaning husband, and shalt call me no more Baal, meaning, you know, that was a god, you know, or Lord. We no longer gonna be calling him Lord. We're gonna be calling him husband. For I will take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. You know, because a northern kingdom had gods worshiping the sun god, you know, and they was worshiping golden calves in the wilderness, you know. So hey, you can't just look at men having multiple wives as that's just it, because the Most High, he is going to take on us, you know. And he's like that high priest, you know, because a priest wasn't set up, and we read it earlier, a priest wasn't set up to in Ezekiel the 44th chapter in the 22nd verse. Let me read it again. You know, Ezekiel chapter 44 and verse 22. A priest couldn't take on a widow and a harlot, man. And that's how Yahweh Shai is. Christ, when he comes back, he's gonna be looking for those who aren't defiled, you know. Because if you take on if a physical man lay down with a harlot or a stripper or a prostitute that's been tossed to and fro with a lot of men, you're defiled. You're joined together. So you don't want to be joined on the spiritual side with false doctrines and a white Jesus and bowing down, worshiping false gods. You know, you have fallen away, and you have, you know, kept yourself away from the true and living God. You know, Ezekiel chapter 44 and verse 22, and it reads, I'm gonna start at verse 22. Ezekiel chapter 44 and verse 22. Neither shall they take for their wives a widow, nor her that is put away, but they shall take maidens of the seed of the house of Israel. So that's what a priest is supposed to do, you know. And I'm gonna jump down to verse 24. And in controversy they shall stand in judgment. They shall judge it according to my judgments. They shall keep my laws and my statutes and my assemblies. They shall hallow my Sabbaths. You know. So let's go to Hebrews right quick. This is Hebrews. I'm going to start at verse 7. This is Hebrews chapter 7, starting at the top. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings, and bless him. Now, when you go back into Genesis and you read about Melchizedek, which if you get down with having a spiritual understanding, you know, according to your wisdom, knowledge, understanding, Melchizedek was really Christ back on the earth at this time. And Melchizedek didn't have a father or a mother. You know, this is how the Most High get down. You know, if you can understand, you know, but we're not gonna get too deep in it because that's another lesson for another day. And I'm gonna jump down to verse 9, Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 9. And you can read this whole account on your own. Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 9. And as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham, for he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. You know, so jumping down to verse 17, for he testified, Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 17, for he testified, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. This is talking about Christ. Verse 18, for there is verily a dishonoring of the commandment going before for the weakness and unprofitableness thereof, for the law made nothing perfect, but the beginning end of a better hope did, by the which we draw nigh unto God. And inasmuch as not without an oath he was made priest, for those priests were made without an oath, but this with an oath, by him that said unto him, the Lord swear and will not repent, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. By so much was Yahushua made a surety of a better testament. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. You know, so the Most High, you know, he had things set up. You know, this is a even higher livelihood of a priest, you know, which Christ is the high priesthood. So which Christ is the spiritual priest over us, you know. So that's why we're not dealing with animal sacrifices anymore. We're dealing with Christ now, and he's atoning for our sins, you know. So that's why we do what is being told for us to do, keeping the law, statutes, commandments to the best of our ability, believing on Christ, having faith, and keeping the words that was set up and things set up in righteousness for us to keep, you know. But nevertheless, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get maybe one more or two more, and then kind of end it at that. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and I'm gonna start at verse. I'm going to start at verse 14. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 14. And God has raised, so like in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 14, and God has both raised up the Lord and will also raise up us by his own power. Verse 15, know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of an harlot? God forbid. Meaning no. You know, no, we shouldn't be believing on a white Jesus, because it tells you in Revelations, you know, it tells you how Christ looked. Revelation, the 1st chapter, you know, Daniel 7, Daniel 10, tells you how Christ looked. You know, stop worshiping, bowing down to false gods and false idols. You're supposed to only worship one true and living God, which is Yahweh, in the name of his son, Yahushua, you know. And even on a physical level, you're not supposed to give yourself unto a harlot, you know, that have laid down with other men. You know, you're supposed to, on the physical level, a deal with one woman, and if you deal with multiple wives, you deal with, you know, that woman, and that woman can only deal with that one man, you know. And on a spiritual level, you trust and believe in one God, which is Yahweh, and his son, which he gave us for atoning of our sins, to repent and come back to the Father, Yahweh Shah, Christ, and not believing in getting down with these other false gods and idols, you know. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 15. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of an harlot? God forbid. Meaning, hell no. Verse 16. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two, said he, shall be one flesh. But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committed fornication sinned against his own body. Verse 19. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? Ye for verse 20. 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 20. For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. You see that? So I'm gonna get this last precept. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at 9. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, starting at verse 9. For they themselves shew of us what manner of entering in we had unto you, and how ye turned to God from idols, to serve the living and true God, and to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, even Jesus, Yahweh Shah, which delivered us from the wrath to come. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, all glory and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Lord willing, this was edifying to you. I don't count this as a light thing to do. You know, Lord willing, you have a mighty Sabbath, which will be tonight at sundown, as according to when this video is made. Brother Hosea, Fisherman for Zion. Lord willing, you know, you can continue to go along, rewind back if you have to, and go through the precepts to the best of your ability through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. Peace and blessing to each and every one. All glory and honor to Yahweh by Shema Mashak Yahweh Shah. Kwam Yahshua. Shalom.